This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee on the 21st of January, 10 o'clock in the morning. The weather today, it's 62 already, which is encouraging. We're not looking at rain today, but a lot of cloudiness. High of 68, tomorrow sunny, high of 69, and then we're looking at rain on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Please pray we don't get the rain in the area, okay? Please, in my area. Thank you. Got some serious stuff to talk about today. And let me jump into the chat first while people are coming in. And we'll get started. I've got to do a couple of fast things in the chat. And then we'll get going, okay? So I'm going to be here, but it's going to take a couple of quick minutes to do it. We'll get started. I've got to do a couple of fast things in the chat. Well, we got sound and picture, which is good. Almost done, guys. Almost there. Won't be long. Okay, being a Bible-believing site, let me get my brim. I'm breaking this hat in. Had it for a while, but I didn't really wear it much. It's black and it kind of looks like it's an Orthodox hat. But if you look at, let me see if I can, if you look at the top, you see it's shaped, this camera keeps moving, it's shaped in the shape of a spade. It's a special edition Stetson hat they did a while ago. I think they called it Ace of Spades or something like that. I think they took it from Sam Spade, the old radio detective, probably in the 20s and 30s. But it's a pretty decent hat. It's wool, which is the cheapest hats, but it's warm in the cold weather. Wool is maybe warmer than the old beaver hats. The old beaver hats are pretty darn warm and they're really waterproof. As you know, beavers hang around in the water. The wool hats normally get ruined in the rain, but these have a waterproofing on it, but I wouldn't dare wear them in the rain if I could avoid it. So I don't like to wear this in the street because it looks like I'm Orthodox. I'm not Orthodox. I don't have any kippah on or anything like that. Okay. Being a Bible-believing site, let's do our praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, so the thing is what happened here in Israel, right? And I will immediately get into that. I'm going to start by reading you some notices that were published very recently from the government of Israel. This is what I would call breaking news, and it's not really out there yet. It will be later today, I'm sure. I'm looking for the posting. I put it up on my Telegram. If any of you want to join me on Telegram, you see a lot of stuff there that I don't put um, up elsewhere. I mean, I do about 100 updates a day on the wars. Um, it comes from social media. It's translated. Some sites are enemies of Israel. Some sites are in Hebrew. Some are in other languages. And I get a lot from India and different things. I put them up. The Prime Minister Modi of India, before I forget, has been improving relations with the Taliban. That's Afghanistan. And Modi has a bad axe to grind with Iran right now for harassing his shipping and interfering with his economy. And Modi likes his economy. So what we're seeing here could be the beginning of an attack on Iran. The Taliban have threatened to attack Iran in the past. I don't think they could take Iran out, but they could cause a lot of trouble with Iran. Now, if India came over with aircraft carriers and warships and aircraft landing in Afghanistan, they could really do a tap dance on Iran's head. Remember, Modi walks more or less by himself. He does what's good for Modi in India. To set the stage, this is what we heard from Hamas. Hamas has reportedly offered to release all Israeli hostages, but without giving us a count. Now, as far as I know, they might not have any, or they might have 5 or 10. I don't know. They're saying there's a potential of 136. We don't know. They want an immediate end to the Gaza war. They want the withdrawal of all Israel troops from Gaza. They want international guarantees that Hamas will retain control of Gaza. Now, America may give them that. Remember, America will turn on Israel. It's in the scriptures in Jeremiah 50:51. It says they do evil. They've already done it on October 7th. The release of all jailed Hamas terrorists, including those who took part in the October 7th massacre. That's probably a good 5,000 to 7,000 people. Okay? This announcement, I'll tell you who it comes from. This is a war preparedness update. North Israel, that's where I live. If diplomatic efforts fail to make Hezbollah move north to the Litani River, that's about 17 miles north from the Israeli border. There's a UN mandate or something that says they can't be south of the Livni. I call it the Livni. They say Litani. I don't know what it is. What at the river? They're in violation, but they're in violation anyway. Nobody cares, except Israel. And if they do not do it, Israel will soon begin a military operation. That's another words for saying all-out war. Minister of Energy Eli Cohen. We were presented with assessments of a 7-day blackout with no phone service, no electricity, no water, possibly no working sirens. Israelis are encouraged to purchase small generators, fuel, non-perishable foods, and batteries. Okay? That's an official government minister. It's very recent, hours ago maybe. Here's another source. The mayor of Nesher, a town in northern Israel near Haifa. Anyone who doesn't take care of themselves in the first week of a war that breaks out, the country won't take care of them. Prepare for war, buy a generator, fuel cans, canned goods, take care of yourselves because the state can't reach you in the first week. There's a scenario of a 7-day power outage. Why aren't we better prepared for it? Eli Cohn, the Minister of Energy, also said establishing a Palestinian state is a reward for terrorism and a danger to the state of Israel. It will encourage the murder of Jews. Okay? Now, what do I think of this? Well, I don't give it 100% probability. Apparently the deadline for diplomatic settlement with Hezbollah in Lebanon is the last day in January, which is, what's today, the 20th or something, like 10, 11 days. Do I think they'll withdraw? Earlier I said 75% chance no, but it's probably, I think, maybe 50-50. See, Israel's got perhaps 50 F-35 stealth jets that we modified. Nobody else has stealth jets like these. And this will bomb the living daylights, to quote a James Bond movie, out of not just Hezbollah, but Lebanon. And they intend to immediately hit the electric grid for the whole country. So they're worried that something like that would happen to us. Whether or not it will or won't, I don't know. Will America do anything to help Israel? Maybe give them equipment, but maybe fly reconnaissance flights or something. But will they fight with Israel? 99.999% chance they will not. Did they say they would? Yeah. Will they? No. Don't ever expect that. America's trying to get rid of Israel. And if you don't believe that, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Okay? The October 7th massacre. September 20th, Netanyahu all of a sudden went to go visit Biden. A few days before September 20th, Biden said, Netanyahu's welcome to come over here. He never wanted to see Netanyahu. Netanyahu goes over there. They have a nice visit on the 20th. About 2 weeks later, the October 7th massacre happens. Now let me open this up for you because I don't give a hoot. What happened? Well, we have so much measures on the border normally to protect an incursion from Gaza. We have cameras, day and night vision. We have outposts with soldiers in them. They're like little towers like you see at jails and places like that. We have sensors. A few thousand of them came in. The people at the outposts were screaming for help. They didn't get it for 7 or 8 hours. It normally would be 7 or 8 minutes, if even that long. We have trackers, Bedouins. They're like North American Indians. They could track people. They would track the footprints of somebody coming in because it's usually 1 or 2 people, 3, 4, not thousands. Okay? They did any kind of atrocity you could imagine against the Israeli people. I'm not going to go into the details. It took hundreds hostages. They had the time to walk them back into Gaza. This piece of garbage Netanyahu had been practicing gun control in Israel for his 20-something years as prime minister. Now, do you know what a blatant moronic thing it is to practice gun control when we're surrounded with people that want to kill us and constantly rise up as terrorists and do incursions? Yet the Israeli people put up with it. He's still fighting against the people trying to get guns in these high-risk areas near Gaza and Lebanon. He still doesn't want them to have guns. So do you think there's another incursion coming? I do. Or he thinks there is. There's no excuse for gun control in these areas. Now, I was sitting outside that morning early, about 5 in the morning, 6 and 5:30, something like that, getting ready for the broadcast, and I started seeing these alerts come in on my phone, non-stop barrage. Massive amount of missiles coming into Israel from Gaza. Massive. I mean, non-stop. It wouldn't stop. I was worrying about it powering off my phone, running the battery down. I said, oh, wait a few minutes, the jets will be up and start bombing them, right? Nothing happened for about 3.5 hours, where usually it would have been 15, 20 minutes. Worst case, 25 minutes, something like that. The soldiers and the people waited 7 or 8 hours to get help down in the area near Gaza. What happened is Biden and Netanyahu, in my mind, cooked this up. This is my opinion, but I think I'm right. Many other people in Israel know something's very wrong here. And they want to get an independent investigation going, and Netanyahu's trying to do an investigation with his own government, in a sense, against himself. Okay? What would be the purpose of this? Ultimately, to eliminate Israel. But how would they get there? Well, they need an event to get Israel extremely mad and to rise up against Gaza. So they concocted one. And then America comes in and says, oh, we're going to help you. Just tell us what you need and all that. And they warn all the countries not to open up a second front or they'll be dealing with America, which was a lie, because the Houthis did. And, well, they're kind of dealing with the Houthis over the Red Sea, kind of, but not seriously. And the only way you're going to stop the Houthis, and I'm telling you the truth, because look at us with Hamas. The Houthis are underground in tunnels and bunkers. It's a country of 40 million, approximately, and Gaza's 2.5. Hamas, with Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the other fringe groups, in Gaza is 50,000. Hezbollah is 167,000. Add in the Yemenis troops, which are on the side of the Houthis, you got about 200,000. So it's 4 times bigger. They got more money, more budget, more weapons, and they're more sophisticated than Hamas. Iran supports them. A month or so ago, America released many billions of dollars to Iran that was held up under sanctions. They let them get the money back. Does that sound like America's against Iran? You tell me. What do you think? I don't think so. I think there's a game being played. An ugly game. Now, I'll give you the scriptures later. But so what is this game? How is it going to take shape? Well, Netanyahu is in danger of being removed from office by the Supreme Court of Israel because when he ran for office, he signed an agreement with them that he wouldn't interfere with the judicial courts and try to undermine them to get out from under his 3 criminal cases that are actively in trial. These 3 cases total 16 years in jail. The guy's, I think, 73 years old. Come on. He's fighting for his life. Now, you have to understand the Israeli people are under the false impression that you shouldn't change your prime minister in time of war with a vote of no confidence. My gosh, if you want to change him in peacetime, you should be more interested in getting rid of him in wartime. That's their mistake. Why did they vote Netanyahu into office? Corruption. They have a thing in Israel called protexia. You got a lot of people in Israel whose mothers and fathers came here from different countries, Arabic countries generally, and they didn't read or write, even in Arabic. So you'd see no books in their house. They could watch TV, radio, and stuff like that, right? Okay. They had children. Children grew up in Israel, went to school and all that, right? Okay. But they normally don't go on to college. They don't believe in working for an education. Why? Because you can corrupt the political party. And then you get protexia. So how does that work? You go to work for a big company or the government, and then you start getting the promotions not based on your ability or your education, but based on your protexia. They do that in the court system. They do that with government contracts. So what's going to college going to get me, they think? I go to college, I learn to be an engineer, and the guy that has protexia is going to get the better job over me. That's what Israel has evolved into, okay? So they go to the political parties, they give money, they hang around, they work for them, do whatever they can, you know, volunteer. Then they get government contracts, they get government jobs, and then they get promoted in the government jobs. I ran into somebody once that was number 2 in one of the biggest government companies in Israel. I don't want to get specific. Perhaps this person was a high school graduate but had no skill set. Number 2. It was due to protexia. They explained that to me. So they laugh at people that go to college and they just use the corruption. And then Israel fills up with incompetence all over the place. This could work if you want to get a job in one of the big defense industry companies in Israel that are loaded with money, always busy. You get protexia and go get a job. Then they hire you. Then they'll promote you. That's what it's all about. So since for 20-something years, Netanyahu had the biggest political party, Likud, which he's the chairman of, the people that don't want to get an education, don't want to learn skills, just want to make good money and get ahead with corruption, think the best bet is to support Likud party and get your protection from them because they're the biggest and the best for it. So they truly rejoice when a sluggard like Netanyahu wins because it means 4 more years of prosperity for them. They don't care what Netanyahu's policies are. All they care about is that they could get ahead. But that's why Netanyahu got in so many times. He's not a smart guy. He's very well versed in the ways of evil. He lies, he breaks promises, he goes back on his promises. He's extremely vindictive against his political enemies. Not, politically vindictive, not. He doesn't go out and have them killed and stuff. He's politically vindictive. So we're stuck with this bum who's been taking the guns away from Israel his whole career. He was responsible to a great extent of giving Gaza back. He was responsible for us fighting in 2006 in Lebanon and going in and setting up a 25-mile buffer zone and then abandoning it and leaving it. He's a man. I wouldn't even say that. I would use the term loosely. He's a character, some of you know what I mean, after Satan's own heart. And the way Satan works is he uses the leaders of the countries against the countries. Every country in the world today is run by an expire. Every single one. The generals, the legislatures, the judges, the heads of industry, they were all that way. Okay? You don't have a chance. If you're not one of them, you don't have a chance. They don't have skills. They don't normally go to college and get good skills or anything like that. So they need people that have the skills. They stay at the top, get all the money, and the other people do the hard work and get way less money. Okay? Oh, and do they pick on believers? You wouldn't believe it. All right. So the people of Israel voted this idiot in. You read in Zechariah 13, verse 8 and 9, 2/3 of Israel is going to get cut off. You read about this in other places in the Bible, and I'm telling you, it's going to happen probably within the next few months. They're rotten here. They sue each other. They take advantage of each other. They all try to get protexia in court against the other guy. We've had it happen to us. It's just horrible. They go after each other with a passion, gypping and cheating each other and all that stuff. And the idea is to have the best protexius you could get away with. And Netanyahu gives the people what they want. So now let's get back to Biden and Netanyahu. So what they did is they created an intense anger with Israel to get Israel to go after Hamas with fury. The other countries didn't really want to help Hamas. You would think they would, but they didn't. So the way this story came out is that Hamas didn't clear it with them. Okay? I don't get all that, but so they're going through token helping of Hamas. Lebanon is fighting us just in the border, but 80,000 people evacuated out of that region. And perhaps 100, 120,000 evacuated out of the region in the south near Gaza. So we got about 200,000 people evacuated, someplace like that, living in hotels that the government is paying for. They've been evacuated for months. Hamas took hostages that were infants, elderly people in their 80s, children, 8-year-old, 6-year-old, 5-year-old. They had them in cages. We had pictures of that I posted on my Telegram. Many of them got killed. Many of them were and are repeatedly raped constantly. All this is a war crime. Does anybody rise up against that? No. Firing missiles into civilian populated areas is a war crime. Does anybody say anything to Hamas about that? No. No. Hamas worked on these tunnels, 300 miles of tunnels, for years, probably 2, 3, 4 years, with UN money. The EU gives them money. The UNWRA gives them money. America gives them money. They're loaded with money. Loaded. So now Netanyahu, before the Gaza war, was facing getting ripped out of office, thrown in jail. Well, once he's out of office, he's not the prime minister. He can't stall his court cases. What he tells them now is, I'm actively fighting a war. I can't tend to the court cases. What's the court going to do? They wait till the war's over. Biden doesn't want to see a winner of this war, let alone Israel. Believe me, he doesn't. He's using the Henry Kissinger, policy. So he keeps pressuring Israel to stop the war. He keeps telling Israel that you have to have a two-state solution to stop the war. The nations tried to destroy Israel in 1948. It was probably a continuation of Hitler's final solution. America and the UN countries put arms embargo on Israel so they couldn't buy weapons to prepare for 1948. Yet it was a known open fact that Russia was supplying the Arabs with weapons. You can verify all this in Google easily. Many sources for this, Jewish and non-Jewish. Okay, so what happens? The Arabs attacked and they lost. And they kept doing it. They did it in 67, 73. They kept losing. So Satan and the nations said, well, we got to stop this. This isn't working. Israel keeps winning. They keep getting more territory. So what'd they do? A bum, Jimmy Carter, pressures Israel, which was very weak back then, to give the Sinai Peninsula back to Egypt. In return for peace, which got Anwar Sadat killed. Okay, basically they've had peace with Egypt. That's unusual, but it's the reality. Then around 2008, they decide they want Israel to give back Gaza. So the soldiers come in and force everybody out of their houses. People have been living in Gaza for years. And they give the land back to Gaza. And they give it to the Palestinians, as they like to call themselves. And they created a military base. Gaza is nothing but a military base. Okay? They wait till when they think they have the right time, and Israel had to cooperate because all the checks and balances on the border were missing. They were missing. They create a massacre. This is similar to Pearl Harbor. both of these events were called an intelligence failure. So then they go, and then now the 6-Day War was an intelligence failure too. I wonder what happened back then. Satan uses the leaders of the country against the country. You got to understand that. So, now Biden wants the war with Hamas stopped. They're all screaming genocide. Let's break that down. They break out from their border, come into Israel, do a surprise attack, although I'm sure lots of people knew about it, not the everyday working guy. And they did the greatest atrocities you could imagine on these people and killed lots of them. I've seen videos of the bodies all over the place. Then they go back to Gaza and then they start raining rockets on us incessantly. Well, Netanyahu goes and starts bombing and artillery and all this stuff and then eventually invades. Did the rockets ever stop from Gaza? No. Do I find that suspicious? Sort of, but I'm not entirely sure about that one. There's been a lot of accusations that Netanyahu is dragging the war out, doesn't want it to end. People say when the war with Hamas is over, within 10 minutes they'll throw Netanyahu out of office. When he's no longer prime minister, the Supreme Court's going to accelerate his case. He's probably going to lose, in my opinion, and go to jail and lose everything. So I told the people before this war started that Netanyahu would do anything not to go to jail, including sacrifice the whole country of Israel. I mean it. And here we are. So a couple of days ago, I started seeing an emergence of anti-Netanyahu commentaries from ex-government officials, ex-generals. You can't win in Gaza. Malarkey, you can win in Gaza. What would it take? It would take way more aggressive action from Netanyahu. Look, here's what the nations want. Hamas comes in and does horrific, atrocious genocide, tortures, everything. Captives, infants. They put an infant in a microwave and killed it in a microwave. I mean, these people, they cut fetuses out of women when they were alive. They raped women so much that their pelvic bones were broken. Of course they died. And they continued after they died. This is what you're dealing with. So, so we start defending against them. They keep launching rockets. They keep attacking our soldiers. And now there's cries of genocide. Hamas has repeatedly said they will reproduce the invasion with all the atrocities they did on October 7th. So what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to just leave Hamas there now, like Biden wants, and let Hamas run their own government? I'll tell you what would happen. Within a week on the outside, probably 48 hours, we'd start getting rocket and missile barrages again in Israel because they see the weakness and they keep doing it. Hamas says they'll return all the hostages, but they don't tell you how many there are, and they don't tell you what their names are. Hamas wants to show the world they had a victory. So they not only want Israel to get out of Gaza, they want Israel to release thousands of prisoners of terrorists. Which Israel's not going to do. So this pitted Israel against America. Biden keeps saying two-state solution is possible even with Netanyahu, and Netanyahu chided Biden pretty openly about that and said it's not. Nobody here wants a two-state solution except maybe Netanyahu, but he won't admit it because that'll be the end of Israel. The West Bank would turn into another Gaza, but 3 or 4 times more potent. And then both of them would attack us at the same time. It'd be just devastating. See, Satan would be very happy to just steadily drive the Jews out of Israel, okay? And then they'd be in the nations, and once there's no Israel, the nations would persecute them like they did in 1939 and end the whole problem, and then Satan could run the world some more. But that's not what's going to happen. In Hosea 6:1 and 2, it explains that God put a 2,000-year punishment on Israel, which started, in my opinion, in 63 AD when the Romans were attacking Jerusalem. And that attack lasted 7 years until 70 AD, and it had a break in the middle at 3.5 years. They used to write prophecy books about that in the 80s, but they stopped. No place in the Bible does it say the tribulation is 7 years. It's impossible to find it in the Bible. It's not there. Okay. So it's a setup. So Biden screams, make sure the humanitarian aid gets in. So we do. And what happens is Hamas captures it all. Fuel, medical, food, water. And some of it they put in the stores owned by their Hamas people or their friends. And they sell it to the civilians at outrageously expensive prices. Now they scream people in Gaza are going to die of starvation. Well, that's not any fault of Israel or the humanitarian aid. It's the fault of Hamas. So they use these people as human shields. And the only way we can stop them from attacking our men, women, and children in schools and hospitals and civilian housing is to bomb and civilians get killed. So then Biden, as if he doesn't know any better, tells Israel, cut back on the civilian casualties. So Netanyahu, the idiot, says, sure. And then we started having more fatalities with our soldiers, and then the people complained, and they started resuming the artillery and bombing strikes. They did a test on flooding the tunnels once, and they said it was successful. Did they ever flood the tunnels after that? No. Why? Obviously, Netanyahu's not very interested in ending the war. His alibi will be, the hostages. We don't know if there's one living hostage left in Gaza. We don't. I'm going to check the chat for a second. All right, let me go through the chat real fast and we'll pick up. Do I like Trump? He's better for Israel, but I think you gotta be careful with Trump. He's one of them, you know. I don't think America is ever going to have another presidential election. Let me do a little spiritual warfare for our friend here. get rid of them. These are S-bots that do this, by the way. Amish or Satanists, you know, they're just... All right, let me see if we got anything else here. Somebody defended me. Thank you, Tess. All right, let's continue. So, Israel's in a rage. They want a total victory over Gaza. Netanyahu keeps feeding them, oh, we're going to demilitarize Gaza. The Hamas will never be a threat. We'll keep going. Yet the world keeps rising up against us, and Netanyahu keeps fanning the fire, knowing he's walking Israel into a trap. And then he slows the war down to keep himself in office. So now it looks like these new politicians are emerging. Benny Gantz, who's no great shakes, it's going to be another S-bot similar to Netanyahu, but different. Not going to do much good. So the latest stuff in the last few days we're getting is, oh, we can't win in Gaza. You can. We never saw a full-out effort. Netanyahu likes blowing up buildings and things like that. You know, you got to have a full-out effort. What can you do with the tunnels? You can flood them with water. You can get petroleum, you know, gasoline in there and flood them with that and ignite it, right?